Have you ever watched a single moment completely shatter months of careful planning and million-dollar investments? That's exactly what happened to the Atlanta Falcons on a seemingly routine Wednesday practice, when their entire offensive foundation cracked with one devastating injury that nobody saw coming. Picture this: you've spent the entire offseason building what you believe could be a championship-caliber team. You've invested heavily in defensive talent, carefully crafted an offensive identity around promising young stars, and finally assembled all the pieces for a legitimate playoff run. Then, in one horrifying instant during practice, your carefully constructed house of cards begins to collapse. Kaleb McGary wasn't just another player who went down during Wednesday's practice. He was the cornerstone protecting the Falcons' most crucial investment. The sight of the veteran right tackle being carted off the field before 11 drills even sent shockwaves through the entire organization, and for good reason. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler confirmed what everyone feared. McGary suffered a leg injury with no clear timetable for return. Those 7 words, "no clear timetable for return," represent every coach's worst nightmare, especially when they involve a player as irreplaceable as McGary. Here's what makes this situation uniquely catastrophic. McGary isn't just Atlanta's starting right tackle, he's Michael Penix Jr.'s blindside protector. With Penix being left-handed, McGary's position takes on exponentially greater importance than a typical right tackle role. He's not just blocking. He's literally standing between success and disaster for the Falcons' franchise quarterback. For 6 years, McGary has been the reliable constant in Atlanta's offensive line, the steady presence that allowed coaches to focus on developing other areas without worrying about quarterback protection. At 30 years old, he represents the perfect blend of experience and capability that championship teams desperately need. The timing couldn't be worse. This was supposed to be the year when everything clicked for Atlanta's offense. Michael Penix Jr., Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and Bijan Robinson represent a collection of recent high draft picks that finally seemed ready to deliver on their collective potential. The Falcons had spent significant resources building this core, and McGary was the veteran anchor supposed to keep it all stable. What transforms this from a significant setback into a potential catastrophe is the cascade of problems McGary's injury creates. Storm Norton, who was projected as McGary's primary backup, is already sidelined for 6 to 8 weeks following ankle surgery. This isn't just bad luck, it's a perfect storm of unavailability that leaves Atlanta scrambling for solutions that simply don't exist on their current roster. The Falcons suddenly find themselves without any clear option to fill McGary's crucial role. This isn't like losing a rotational player where you can shuffle the depth chart and move forward. This is losing the protector of your franchise quarterback's blind side with no viable replacement in sight. Consider the mathematical reality of this situation. McGary has started at right tackle for 6 consecutive seasons, providing roughly 1,200 snaps of reliable protection annually. That's not just experience. It's irreplaceable institutional knowledge about opposing pass rushers' protection schemes and the subtle timing required to keep a quarterback upright. Now, imagine trying to replace those 1,200 snaps of veteran excellence with unproven alternatives who lack both the experience and the specific skill set required for this particular role. It's not just about finding someone to stand in the position, it's about finding someone capable of handling elite pass rushers while protecting a left-handed quarterback's blind side. McGary's absence doesn't just affect pass protection, it fundamentally alters how the entire offense can operate. Running plays that were designed to work behind his blocking suddenly become questionable. Play-action concepts that relied on his pass protection lose their effectiveness. Even the timing of routes can be disrupted when quarterbacks lose confidence in their protection. Michael Penix Jr., despite his talent, is still developing his NFL instincts. Having a proven veteran like McGary providing consistent protection allows young quarterbacks to focus on reading defenses and making throws rather than constantly worrying about pressure from their blind side. Remove that security blanket, and even the most talented quarterback can regress quickly. The psychological impact extends throughout the entire offensive unit. When players see their starting right tackle carted off the field, it creates uncertainty that ripples through every position group. Suddenly, the offensive line that seemed solid now appears fragile. The running game that looked promising becomes questionable. The passing attack that was supposed to showcase young talent now faces significant limitations. This is particularly devastating for a team that was banking on offensive improvement to complement their defensive investments. The Falcons poured considerable money and draft capital into their defense this offseason, operating under the assumption that their offense would be able to hold up its end of the bargain. McGary's injury threatens that entire strategic approach. What makes this situation even more pressing is the timing within Atlanta's competitive window. This isn't a rebuilding team that can afford to write off a season due to injuries. The Falcons have invested too heavily in young talent and veteran additions to accept a lost year because of one position. Kyle Pitts is entering a crucial phase of his development where he needs consistent quarterback play to reach his potential. Drake London requires reliable protection schemes to maximize his route-running abilities. Bijan Robinson's effectiveness depends on balanced defensive attacks that don't become predictably one-dimensional due to pass protection concerns. All of these investments become significantly less valuable if the offensive line can't provide basic protection. It's like buying a Ferrari and then discovering you can't afford the insurance. Technically, you own something valuable, but you can't actually use it effectively. The MRI results that McGary is scheduled to receive will determine whether this becomes a short-term adjustment or a season-defining crisis. Best-case scenario, it's a minor issue that sidelines him for just a few weeks. Worst-case scenario, the Falcons are looking at months without their most crucial protector during the most important season in recent franchise history. Professional sports operate on unforgiving timelines where championship opportunities can disappear faster than they appear. The Falcons have carefully constructed what appears to be their best chance at contention in years, built around young offensive talent and significant defensive improvements. McGary's injury represents the type of random event that can derail even the best-laid plans. It's a stark reminder that in the NFL, championship dreams often hinge on the health of players whose names don't appear on jersey sales reports, but whose contributions are absolutely irreplaceable. The next few days will reveal whether this becomes a manageable setback or a season-defining catastrophe. Either way, it serves as a sobering illustration of how quickly championship aspirations can transform into survival mode. Atlanta's response to this crisis will reveal everything about their organizational depth, adaptability, and genuine championship credentials. Some teams crumble under unexpected pressure, while others find ways to overcome adversity and emerge stronger. Which version of the Falcons will we see? The answer might determine not just the season's outcome, but the future trajectory of their carefully assembled core. The clock is ticking, and championship windows don't wait for anyone to get healthy. How do you think the Falcons should handle this crisis? Have you seen teams overcome similar setbacks? Or does this feel like a season-ending blow? Jump into the comments and let us know your thoughts. And hit that like button if this breakdown helped you understand just how devastating this injury could be for Atlanta's championship hopes.